angel moms who just left the White House after speaking with President Trump to fight for the people in this country whose children, whose loved ones might be killed at the hands of illegal immigrants. They know from firsthand experience how terrible it is. I'm here with Dom's mom, Sabina Durden.
Hi,
it's great to be here with you, and Maureen Maloney. Now, you guys, we all actually were at the White House. We were at the press conference, but the press conference, it was supposed to start at 10 o'clock in the morning, and it was pushed to 10:30. And the entire, there's buzz, 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 everyone's saying, okay, what's going on in there? And a lot of people thought it was because you guys were meeting with the president. You guys did have a meeting with the president right before his announcement.
That's right.
So what was that meeting like, and what happened in that meeting? I'll start with you, Sabina.
Just walking into the Oval Office again, it's so invigorating. It's so exciting. You look around and see all this history in there, and to sit with him and chat and talk about our kids, and he remembers our kids and us from a long time ago since we've been with him. He remembered new ones. We shared with him new ones that couldn't be there.
Now, this is your son, Dom.
Yes.
He calls you Dom's mom.
Yes.
And can we let's show the camera. Let's show Dom. We've had Sabina on before, so you guys know, and you know her story. And I think it was really powerful. As you guys were walking out, you guys all had your pictures,
yeah.
And you had your son, Matthew.
Mm-hmm.
Now, we've had Sabina on. We haven't had you on. Can you tell us about Matthew's story?
Sure. Let me show you a picture of
Sure.
Matthew. So this is Matthew, my son. He was 23 years old. He had just graduated college. This is one of the last pictures I have of him. He was riding his motorcycle in a residential area, and a drunk, unlicensed criminal alien who had been drinking all day long ran through a stop sign and collided with Matthew's motorcycle. Now, Matthew should have survived that crash because it was in a residential area and it was a low-impact collision. Matthew landed on the hood of the truck and rolled off, and witnesses saw him getting up out of the road when the illegal alien decided to flee, put his foot on the gas pedal, ran Matthew over. Matthew became lodged in the wheel well and got dragged a quarter of a mile to his death. Then the illegal alien ran over a curb. Matthew became dislodged, and he backed up and ran over Matthew again and continued to flee.
It's incredible because we have these horrible stories. There's more and more of you guys each year. Each day, actually.
Each day.
Every day there's more.
Every
And the
day.
president alluded to that. He said he gave his address, he said there are, we have a new one. It's unfortunate, it's sad, but there's a new angel mom.
Yeah.
And to sit with the press, I don't know if you guys know this, but I was in the press section of the event, and the president's making his announcement, and you guys come out and you have your pictures, and the reporter behind me, I don't actually know who it was because I couldn't see him, he rolls his eyes and he says, "Oh boy," like that.
Yep. And that's common.
It's
It is.
incredible. It's common. I can't think of any other situation where it would be acceptable to roll your eyes and say, "Oh boy," at families who have lost loved ones.
Oh, that's nothing. We were at a press conference with the president at the Eisenhower building not too long ago, and two cameramen in the back. One of them said to the other, "Well, let's bet on who cries first." So that's the disrespect you get, and they still, I see on Twitter what they write. Somebody wrote today, well, a few anecdotes. This is not an anecdote. I have his ashes in my locket. I don't have a child anymore. That was my only child, and
Dom was struck by a motorcycle.
he was riding on his
Or he was riding on his
yeah.
motorcycle and he was struck by
And
a
illegal with 2 felonies, 2 DUIs, no registration, of course, no license. He hit him, turning left in front of him, hit him so hard he killed him instantly. And then the DA and the judge gave him a deal, and he got
off easy.
he got a misdemeanor without gross negligence, 9 months and 5-year probation, because clearly probation worked so well with him before, and he walked out after 35 days.
35 days. I mean, that's incredible. If he were an American citizen,
He's
It'd be
still
life.
being jailed. Yes, he's
life.
still being jailed. Yeah,
That's
and we would have a recourse.
yes.
We don't have with the illegals. Restitution, all that, nothing.
So I want to get back to the meeting because we have this bill, this border security bill. I've given you guys what I feel about this bill, and I think a lot of people who are fighting for the same causes feel similarly about what's in this bill. And while we were waiting outside for the president to address the American people and the press, we thought, is there a chance he changes his mind on this? Do you think you had an impact, and do you think there's a chance that what you said in that meeting may have changed his mind?
Well, we definitely hope so, because we shared with him the parts that we didn't like, the billions used for foreign aid and $1 billion for the Smithsonian, really?
Yeah, I have the $4.4 billion in international disaster relief, $1.5 billion in aid to Jordan, $1.04 billion for the Smithsonian. I mean, for art, which I like art, but I don't think it's as important as our security on our border. $9.3 billion for the EPA, for land and water, and then $3.1 billion for global health programs, whatever global health programs mean. I mean, Maureen, what does it mean to you when you see all of these numbers being spent on things in other countries, but aren't being spent here on our own border for our own citizens?
Yeah, you know, it's an insult. It's a slap in the face. They're spending as much money on the Smithsonian as they're giving to us for the border.
For the wall.
And it's only going to cover 55 miles of border barrier where we need 2,000 miles. It's absolutely insulting, and we're providing more foreign aid to foreign countries than we are to save American lives and to prevent the opioids from coming across the border and the human trafficking that's coming across the border.
From what I hear, the president knows this is not an ideal bill.
Yeah.
He's in a situation where he feels he has to sign it. He believes it will extend only to September, and then he can fix it. And in the meantime, he believes declaring this national emergency is going to help him get more funds from the defense and other places to build the wall. Do you trust that plan?
I have to. President Trump was the only one that spoke about our kids, that gave him a voice. So for me personally, there are things I don't like, I would do different, but I'm not president, so, you know. But I have to hang on to some hope, because otherwise, going around this country and talking and sharing his story over and over, I would just stop. So I'm hoping it works out. Fingers crossed. He spoke to us about certain things he will look over, because we brought it up to his attention. So he knows he owes us. He does.
And there was one particular point that you brought up to him, right? The 224A
Yes.
section.
Yeah.
And for people who don't know, do you want to explain what's in 224A?
Maureen?
Actually knows better that.
So the 224A is the part that pertains to unaccompanied minors, and it states that anyone having a relationship in the same household as an unaccompanied minor would be eligible for amnesty.
So even I think it's a potential sponsor. So even if you're a gang member and you're saying, oh, well, you know, I'm potentially in the future going to sponsor somebody, you get off the hook and you get to be free and you're let out and you're able to stay in the United States with basically no punishment. I mean, it's an incredible thing that they put in here. He has to know that that's terrible.
And he does, and he said he will run it by his lawyers, and because it's like rent a kid.
Yeah.
Just grab any kid.
And you don't know if they're related.
And that's most of the time it is. It's child trafficking, so it's going to continue.
It's not just, it doesn't pertain just to the sponsor. It pertains to everyone living in that household with the unaccompanied minor that's brought to live there.
That's incredible. And you guys you guys are exhausted. You have been tirelessly fighting for this, knocking on members of Congress's door. You went to the Speaker's office. You went to Chuck Schumer's office. And
the police called on us.
You got the police called on you?
Nancy Pelosi's office. Yes, when we showed up, like 20 Capitol Police showed up just to stand and line the hallway to make sure we didn't do anything.
That was Wednesday, and then Thursday we figured, well, let's get arrested. You know, I was practicing getting dragged out of there.
I mean, at a certain point, you know what, you have to do everything.
Something to bring attention to this, and then 3 showed up because they knew better. But the staff in Pelosi's office is extremely rude, and there's something I noticed.
Shocking, by the way.
Yeah. While I'm standing next to the receptionist, and she knows me by now, and she has this super bored look on her face while we're in there talking about our dead kids, I glance down and I'm filming, and I see a poster with people on it that wore the shirt, undocumented and unafraid, and it was signed to Pelosi, probably, thank you for helping us. And as soon as I tried to get my camera down, she saw me and she moved it.
Did
And
she
I
tried to
looked-
cover it up?
Yeah, no, she moved it under her desk, and I said, I saw it.
Now, but you are doing all of this to get attention, to bring attention to the cause.
Yeah.
I saw something today that I thought I would never see. You guys got your moment of fame on the fake news network on CNN. How did you? We actually have footage, but I first want to ask you before we go to that. How did you guys pull that off?
Well, when he was talking about percentage and that these undocumented immigrants, which just grind my gears because they're illegal aliens. I'm an immigrant, and if I don't take my license with me, then I'm an undocumented immigrant. But, you know, he calls them undocumented immigrants, and the percentage of them committing crimes is lower. And it just, I wanted to scream out, but I wanted to respect our president and not act a fool in there, so I had to wait. But as soon as it was over, I jumped up and asked him. I wanted to know why he's saying that.
So I'm gonna stop you right there. 'Cause
Gotcha.
we actually have the question from Jim Acosta that we can play, so you can see the exchange between Jim Acosta and the president.
There's a lot of crime data out there. There's a lot of Department of Homeland Security data out there that shows border crossings at a near record low.
That's
That
because of us,
shows
but it's still-
undocumented immigrants
excuse me,
committing
it's still
crime at
massive
lower
numbers of
levels.
crossings.
That shows undocumented criminals or undocumented immigrants committing crime at lower levels than native-born Americans. What do you say to
You don't really believe that stat.
What-
Do you really believe that
What do you?
stat?
Well, let
Take
me
a
ask
look
you
at
this.
our federal
I
prisons.
believe in facts and statistics and
Okay,
data.
any more quick? Let's go.
Let me just ask you this. What do you say to your critics who say that you are creating a national emergency, that you're concocting a national emergency here in order to get your wall because you
I
couldn't
asked
get
the
it through
angel
other ways?
moms, what do you think? Do you think I'm creating something? Ask these incredible women who lost their daughters and their sons. Okay? Because your question is a very political question because you have an agenda. You're CNN, you're fake news. You have an agenda. The numbers that you gave are wrong. Take a look at our federal prison population. See how many of them, percentage-wise, are illegal aliens. Just see. Go ahead and see. It's a fake question.
I mean, and then so afterward, you guys went up and you pounced on Jim,
Yeah,
and you
I-
said,
I needed to.
Yeah, and we actually have some video of that as well.
Well, she should.
Call the cops on her. They call the cops on her. She called the cops. We have 19 police officers outside.
When are you going to have us on? I've been on CNN.
I'll do a live shot right now, and you can stand
I've
behind me,
been
and I'll show you.
twice in 7 years.
Yes, ma'am.
So
And I just want you to know my heart goes out to you, and I am not trying to take away anything.
It's almost like a flippant attitude that we can to
Not
minimize.
for me, ma'am. I mean, my only objection is him calling us fake news and the enemy of the people and stuff like that.
Well,
You know, he's got to stick to the facts and the data and whatnot, you know.
I can see his point though at times because I've been exposed to this for 7 years now. Anyway, thank you so much.
But I'll point to you guys, if you guys stand behind me.
And yet you stand behind it, and you guys actually spoke too. I don't think he wanted you guys to speak at all.
No, I don't think so. I don't think he expected any of that because actually when he talked to me, he put on this show and I almost wanted to reach down in my purse, get a little Oscar out because he, touched his heart and he was so sorry about our loss and he understands. And as a child, no, and family member. It was so insincere because if they were sincere, they would have us on. They could have made an arrangement. We would have been on today.
You would have been on. I mean,
Yeah.
you know what CNN's talking about
Yeah.
right now. They would have had you come to the
That's
studio.
right, yeah.
Instead-
And not behind him.
Right, not behind it. Like, yeah, it's exactly. So how do we? What's the next step? Because you guys had the meeting. I think the question everyone wants to know is if that meeting had any significant effect going forward. Do you guys think anything happened, and if so, what happened in that meeting that could change the course and protect the border more?
Well, hopefully we did have an effect on the president's decision. At a minimum, he is questioning some of those provisions that we brought to his attention. The other thing I want to bring up is Nancy Pelosi offered $1 for the border fence. That is so insulting. My son was worth more than $1. He's worth more than that $1.375 billion, and all our children and lost family members they're priceless. And the future victims that are dying every single day are priceless.
And there's more. I mean, there's more. We had one. We saw one today. Every single day, we get more victims of this. And it's incredible. The media, they just play it off as if it's just, oh, it's an anomaly, it's statistics, it's not really important, it's only a few people. Someone on Fox News, I can't remember her name, she's the token Democrat chick, she comes on, she says that, this is not worth declaring a national emergency over. And it's incredible because they're cavalierly looking at lives and saying,
Yeah.
there's nothing wrong with
just
this.
a couple of days ago, they caught 1,300 illegals at the Rio Grande sector. 1,300.
100. That's
One day. So how many more get through that we don't know of? Every day they arrest. We're running out of money. We're running out of space. It's that catch and release. And as far as your question with the president, we touch his heart. You can tell in his eyes. We do. He's seen these faces for the last couple of years. He knows I bring my son's ashes with me, and so we touch him, and he doesn't forget.
And it's the people around. I mean, I truly believe, I've stated this, it's the people around
Yeah.
him. I don't trust everyone in that White House. And there's people around him that shield him from information. And I will bring this up. I mean, there were efforts to try to get people to meet with him, to convince him otherwise about this. For whatever reason, there were staffers who didn't want to let him see those people. And you guys held a press conference.
Well,
You
we
wanted to hold a press conference
Right in
outside the White
front
House.
of right in front of the White House. We figured we'd go live, Facebook Live, Twitter, whatever, and because we had 29 families here.
And immediately, the White House said, "Oh, okay, let's
Yeah, let's
let's
talk.
reconsider. Let's
Yeah.
reconsider." And then that's how you
But even
ended up
with
in
the
his
other-
office the
yeah,
next day.
with the other media, it was funny because usually when we come to DC, they contact us or we contact them. We're going to be there a couple of days, and then we get lined up for different programs. And this time it was silence, and it was just so weird. I didn't know. I couldn't point my finger at it what it was, but something was different.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, thank you guys so much for what you're doing. You guys are making absolutely
Thank you.
different.
Well, thank
Everyone
you.
is talking about this today, and I think I think that it's at the point where people know this is serious. People know that this is one of the most important issues facing the country, and you guys are evidence that it's not something. And I've always admired this about you. That there's no reason for you guys to fight for this, other than
We've
other
already paid
people.
the ultimate price.
Yeah.
You've paid the ultimate price. You've given everything, and yet you're you're getting up at 6 a.m, running around the country, knocking on people's doors, convincing people because you don't want it to happen
That's right.
to anyone else. And it's not, you don't want it to happen to only Trump supporters.
No.
You don't want it to happen to another Molly Tibbetts situation. You don't want this to happen to any American family, and it shouldn't. And I admire the fight you guys have in you.
Thank you.
Well,
so
thank
much.
you, and thank you for discussing the issue.
Thank you guys so much. All right, guys, that's all we have. Remember, the White House Brief, it's now available as a podcast, so you can subscribe. If you want to listen to this, you don't have time to watch it, you can listen to our interviews, you can listen to everything we do on iTunes. It's search White House Brief, subscribe to it, rate it, and review it so it stands out amongst the other stuff. Thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you next time.